Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And in our continuing kind of look back on some technology things, I wanted to bring back this classic about YouTube because I feel like a lot of things have changed with YouTube, even though this episode isn't that old since we talked about it. And also just hearing about how some of the creators we've interviewed are using it differently. I'm just really intrigued, and I want to do a more in-depth dive into some of the things that's going on with YouTube now. Especially, like, I feel like all of our technology is in flux. So I just want to come back and talk about this. But I have noticed some things personally. I know I've talked about this before, but I've noticed some really, really gendered ads that are shocking to me. So we'll have to come back and revisit that. But in the meantime, please enjoy this classic episode. Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are continuing our tech kick, which feels like it's never ending, to be honest.
We keep adding things, you're right.
We do. But it's all fascinating stuff. And I will say this one, which is about YouTube, was very difficult to research because Google owns YouTube. So when you type in like, hey, YouTube women, all it is like videos from YouTube with women in them.
Right. Right.
So it's tricky.
Yeah, you know what? TikTok is similar to that. When you try to find information on TikTok, it takes you to TikTok and like things about that subject on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're speaking of, we have a TikTok now.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we do. Thanks to Joey, who has been on the show, who is amazing and patient. You can go check us out there at Stuff Mom Never Told You. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So yeah, we're there as well. Do you use YouTube a lot, Samantha?
So this is the thing. I do use YouTube a lot, but it's very specific things. I have used it to listen to music. So way back when, before licensing was a thing and people were really like, and YouTube got really aware of that.
Yeah.
I would listen to songs that I couldn't find. Now, of course, Spotify has more songs, but like some songs you couldn't find on Spotify. Beyonce songs were not available there. So I would go to YouTube and listen to it there. At night, I like their deep sleep sounds.
Ooh.
I set that on a timer, and they have a lot of dark screens, so I use it like that. My partner uses it nonstop, but that's it. Like I don't do things outside of that.
Huh. I use YouTube quite a bit, actually. It's a thing that I have a love-hate relationship with, and we're going to talk about that. Because I do feel like as a viewer who doesn't pay for like the expensive, it's not, I don't know expensive, but I don't pay for the service to not have ads. I feel like they time the ads at the worst specific place on purpose. And I've even looked up like on Reddit, does YouTube do this purposefully? There's no real answer yet.
Yeah. I think, I know it's gotten longer. They used to be able to skip, and now you don't have that option as much. I do want a correction because I do watch Hot Ones.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a series I've watched a lot on there because that's where they originated.
Yes.
So I love that series as well as Binging with Babish. Those are the two shows that I will watch.
Yes. Those are pretty great ones. There's a lot of great stuff on YouTube. I watch a bunch of stuff, actually. It's one of my biggest, like probably every morning I watch a bunch of YouTube videos, which is not the case for a lot of people, I've learned.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah, that is like my go-to. That's my morning routine. Yeah. Content warning before we get into this one. General grossness. The same thing in our past tech episodes. If you're like a woman or marginalized person on the internet, you know what I'm talking about. Brief discussion of very disturbing content, pedophilia, sexual assault. We're not going to get too much into detail, but just so you know, you can see our past episodes on Airbnb, Twitch, Evan Rachel Wood, and Tech Accountability, YouTube Beauty Gurus, single-use hate accounts, and Meghan Markle. The Amber Heard trial is involved in this, which Samantha knows. I have a very hilarious, spicy outline coming up about DC Phantom.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be great. Also, we typically try to focus on intersectional feminist issues in our episodes for what I hope are obvious reasons. And I think pretty much everything could be that, but YouTube has a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to discuss some of them, but just so you know, there's a lot going on here that we could get into. We didn't have time for this, but there's a lot. It was one of those ones where I think I was like, oh, I'll get this done in 2 days. And I start opening tabs. I'm like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm,
Uh-oh.
mm-hmm. Been there.
Mm-hmm. And I did want to start with a pretty brief explanation of my YouTube experience because a good chunk of my job in my current, it's so confusing because we've been acquired by so many companies, but I've essentially been working with the same group of people for a while, was YouTube based. And I ran the Stuff Mom Never Told You YouTube. And so I'm going to be inserting a lot of personal experience in this one. Off the top, I will say that some of my bosses treated this much more seriously than I thought it had any warrant to be treated. Kristen, who was in the videos and I was filming them and editing them. Well, she filmed a lot of them. I was editing them primarily. She was told to like wear makeup and get her hair done, all of this kind of stuff. We were instructed on like the best thumbnails to use, which were generally like, quote, pretty looking thumbnails or something. So people would click on them. We did run into a couple of copyright issues, which I'll talk about more later. As you know, probably a lot of people know by now because it's become sort of a conversation topic. There's a lot of videos you watch that look like it's just vlogging where they edit it and do it themselves or not. There's like a huge team behind it. Mm-hmm. And the team doesn't get credited. I was never credited on anything, I don't think. And that's just like how it is. I had to go through YouTube training every year, and it's the most boring thing you can imagine. And you can't skip it. Oh my gosh. But I did get an award. I won a YouTube award. I still have it. It's pretty cool. I mean, it looks pretty cool. On the not so fun side, I did experience a lot of harassment. One of my very favorite comments, as I've said before, I've ever gotten was, I know the producer and she's a slut. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, whatever. And also I did get doxxed. I got doxxed based on a YouTube video that we posted that wasn't that inflammatory. And then accessibility was a thing I was really passionate about when I was doing those videos. So you would listen to the video and type out the closed captions. And that was something I kind of did and didn't get compensated for. But it was really important for me to do it, but that is a big issue with YouTube. And that's a big issue with this show. And we've tried to get transcripts with middling success. Because for a while we had them before you and I were hosts. There were transcripts and now there are not. So that's an issue as well. But yeah, that's kind of my brief encapsulation of my time. Like I said, I have a bunch of comments throughout this one. But okay, let's start with a very quick rundown of the history of YouTube, which I found kind of surprising. So YouTube, which is an online video sharing platform that allows for commenting, liking, and disliking, sharing, making playlists, all kinds of things. I feel like you know what YouTube is, was founded by Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim in early 2005. A little over a year later, Google purchased YouTube for a staggering $1.65 billion. And it started as a dating website. Yeah. So the idea was users would upload videos of themselves talking about their dream partners. The slogan was tune in, hook up. And I was struck once again about how humans and especially dudes' desire for sex really runs so much stuff. It's wild. The dating aspect failed even after they offered women $20 to upload videos. But the video uploading system was excellent. So they decided to open it up to any video. And they decided this in part because after the 2004 Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake Super Bowl incident, they couldn't find video of it anywhere. So they thought, hey, we could be the place. People put videos like that and you can watch them. Karim at the Zoo, a short video of one of the creators at the zoo, was YouTube's first official video. Yeah. Several studies have found that the reasons people use YouTube are, quote, information seeking, sharing information, status seeking, like that whole first thing, social interaction, and entertainment, just by the way.
So yeah, YouTube is huge. Behind Google, it is the second most popular website in the world. As early as 2006, the site was getting about 20 million monthly visitors, 1 billion hours of daily consumed content. As of 2023, about 56% male to 44% female. That same year, the first targeted ad campaigns launched by major companies took off, and Time featured YouTube as Person of the Year. And in 2018, YouTube made twice the amount of revenue than any major television network. Numbers from 2019 found that 500 hours of content was uploaded each minute, and the company makes an estimated $15 billion in revenue annually. Although a lot of that is supposed to go back to the creators. 27% of Americans rely on it as a news source.
Yes, and honestly, there are so many numbers we could throw at you, so many awards we could throw at you, and moments in history about YouTube. Like, did you know Rickrolling started in 2008? And Gangnam Style was the first video to pass 1 billion views in 2012. But the basic takeaway here is it's a big deal, and it makes a lot of money. It has also been the source of a lot of conversation and controversy since its founding. One of the big things that has hounded YouTube is copyright issues, how they handle copyright, what you can upload, what will get you in trouble, what will get your videos taken down. When I was working there, it was a 3-strike system, but it was very Wild West and what you could get away with and what random thing would get you in trouble. Sometimes you would get mistakenly flagged, or a video would be taken down without warning or any clear reason, which may or may not have had to do with their massive copyright library. So basically they have like this huge library that just like searches for, oh, you're playing this copyrighted item, take it down. But it does make mistake. In my experience, it made some mistakes. So probably it's improved. I should say it's been about a good, about like 7 years since I've been doing this job. So I bet a lot of things have changed since I've been doing it. Another big problem YouTube has to do with their recommended videos function. Because there have been reports about it pushing things like conspiracy theories or lies, promoting violent or sexual content to children, pedophilic content, and things like we discussed in Bridget's episode about Evan Rachel Wood, that YouTube is making money off of a video she alleges depicts her sexual assault, and they won't take it down, even though she said, like, hey. In 2019, YouTube announced they would recommend fewer videos that, quote, could misinform users in harmful ways. This came after rising concerns that platforms like YouTube were leading to offline violence, death, and radicalization. This, of course, led to heated discussion around free speech and confirmation in some conspiracy theorist minds that they were being censored. Like, see, here's the proof. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So this was after a Google engineer posted a 10-page manifesto in 2017 criticizing the company's diversity initiatives, claiming it discriminated against white men, that led to the YouTube CEO's daughter asking, "Mom, is it true that there are biological reasons why there are fewer women in tech and leaderships?" But many pointed out that the engineer may have been in part radicalized by YouTube and its algorithm. He was fired and became an alt-right hero.
As far as the disturbing content served to children goes, these videos often feature beloved children's cartoon characters in violent and/or sexual situations. One such video featured a woman with a Minnie Mouse head getting stuck in an escalator and bleeding profusely. It got millions of views in one day and could be viewed in the kid-friendly mode. Other videos depict Peppa Pig tricked into eating bacon, the suicide attempt of a Paw Patrol character. A lot of these videos are discovered through autoplay or the recommended videos sidebar. So after you've watched legitimate content, you find these videos. Some tests found that a toddler went from viewing one of his favorite legitimate videos to a video depicting stomach parasites, eye gouging, and kids setting each other on fire in only a few clicks. And that video had 20 million views. And that's part of the problem, is that these videos get pushed because they have so many views, and that's how YouTube's algorithm works in part. YouTube hosts millions of hours of children's entertainment, and much of this content makes a lot of money. YouTube claims it's difficult to change their algorithm and largely removes these videos on a case-by-case basis, which isn't going to fix the problem. It also puts more pressure on the guardian to view the media with the child when it comes to when, that's something you often do to keep a child busy while you do something else. On top of that, it's kind of complicated reporting a video in kids' YouTube, and there's no real way to make sure it doesn't show up again. You can delete it from your history. You can do all kinds of things that still might show up again. YouTube has been releasing improved reporting tools and methods for video blocking in an attempt to improve the situation. There are plenty of articles out there about what steps you can take on your own if this is something you're worried about. But again, that's sort of putting the impetus on you to do that. In 2019, several articles reported on pedophilic content running alongside ads for major companies. And the videos showed children in their underwear and or their genitals with what appeared to be pedophiles timestamping content in the comments, basically so other users could click the timestamp to go to the part in the video where nipples were exposed or something like that, and then recommending other similar videos, sometimes exchanging numbers to exchange more videos with each other. These videos have thousands, if not millions of views, hundreds of comments, and yes, they are being monetized. You probably heard about this because the advertisers were not happy to learn their ads are running on this content. But to be clear, a lot of these videos, though not all of them, are pretty innocent. Like girls playing Twister, and confused girls who uploaded the video will respond to comments like, "How old are you?" They'll answer, or ask a commenter what grow means. Many of the comments are about the child in question's beauty or claim that they're in love with them, and sometimes they request specific lighting or outfits. For a while, searching Twister girl on YouTube auto-corrected to little girl Twister and skirt.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So the recommendation system was part of the issue too, serving up other videos seemingly enjoyed by pedophiles. On top of that, while some channels have been taken down over child abuse, there are plenty, as of writing this, still up dedicated to, quote, preteen models, girls bathing or doing stretches or yoga, swimming, things like that. YouTube enacted a policy disabling comments on videos where the comments in question were overwhelmingly inappropriate. But even so, the algorithm still would serve up these videos alongside others teeming with pedophilic comments. A lot of the comments aren't in English as a way to get around the disabling, but several of them are.
Yes. Yeah. Another issue, advertising, because YouTube has a changing and not very transparent policy on what type of content and videos can be monetized on their platform, which is primarily how creators make money.
Yeah, YouTube claims it's 99% effective at not running an ad over inappropriate content. But advertisers have pulled their ads after they ran against videos containing things like rape apologists, anti-Semitism, and terrorism. In 2017, many big advertisers told YouTube they would end their relationship if the platform didn't fix the issue. The solution decided upon was that YouTube would work more directly with advertisers to make sure their ads were only placed on the desired content.
Yes. And a quick aside here, my experience was you had very little control over the ads on your videos as a creator. You could flag topics you didn't want running, like cigarettes, but what was served on your video could be fairly random to downright offensive given the content. And this is an issue we encounter pretty frequently as a feminist podcast and what advertisers think of when it comes to women. But basically, it was pretty random with a very difficult reporting system, especially if you didn't have a specific deal with a sponsor. On top of that, this was how you made money from a random pool of ads. Again, if you didn't have a specific sponsor. And plenty of advertisers didn't want to run ads on feminist videos talking about abortion or honestly, feminist videos in general. Anyway, YouTube announces it's going to work more closely with advertisers to prevent something like these things we've been talking about happening again. One of their largest creators, PewDiePie, who had preferred advertising status, lost it after he posted a video with anti-Semitic language and imagery in it. And basically preferred advertising is like, oh, that's like top tier. You want to advertise with this creator. On the flip side, creators were worried about how this policy and demonetization would impact their own revenue. Advertisers could opt out of specific videos, meaning if a channel about news wanted to talk about a tragedy, ads could opt out, which is a financial incentive not to talk about darker things that we need to talk about. I do understand that it's strange. Like the whole Applebee's Ukraine invasion thing, where they were running, CNN had this like disturbing imagery, and then there was this very in-your-face Applebee's commercial. It is weird. And we've had these discussions ourselves about our darker episodes where we don't want specific ads playing in episodes about sexual assault, for instance. But at the same time, we have to make money. So it's just like it's a strange situation. Creator Philip DeFranco reported an 80% drop in revenue after the policy was enacted and argued that new creators would feel the worst of it. To address the issue, YouTube attempted to make it more transparent to creators what videos were being monetized and which ones weren't. There is a process for requesting a review about why a video isn't being monetized, but it's tedious and not without human bias because it requires a human to watch the video and then kind of decide, like, I don't know. On top of that, these reviews were prioritized for bigger creators. YouTube did update the algorithm later, and the update decreased demonetization by 30%. And this is something I remember working with YouTube, is every time a major company, not just YouTube, would change their algorithm or policy, we would have to have a very serious meeting about it. Like, we would sit down and be like, what does this mean? What do we have to do with our keywords? Like, all of these things. And also, yeah, we just kind of experienced a meeting like this because SMNTY may or may not be uploading episodes to YouTube soon of like our whole episodes. And yeah, we had to talk about it.
We had to have a whole breakdown of what we're afraid of and what we want to avoid, including about having control about ads, because we try really hard to monitor that, whether we want to or not, because there's some things that we really miss out on, like, oh, dang, I really would love that sponsorship. You know what I mean? But we want to be very aware, and it's hard to do that on something like YouTube when it has its own thing. God, each social media platform, it's so hard to learn because they're all so different.
Yeah. But I mean, it's so different, but a lot of the same issues.
Right. The same issues, but like different standards.
Yes.
So weird. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then the reports about pedophilic content broke, and the company was once again in crisis mode to keep advertisers from bailing. Then Logan Paul, yes, one of the most popular vloggers, posted a video of a man who killed himself, and he was stripped of his, quote, preferred advertising status. And in the wake of this, the platform announced new policies detailing which creators were even eligible to make money. And by the way, he's still one of their top money makers and just had a whole controversy happen because a pig that he had for clout has been shown as being severely abused. Anyway, creators now had to have over 4,000 hours of watch time over the course of a year and 1,000 subscribers to receive ads. Small creators were understandably hurt and outraged, and there was a whole host of emotional videos posted about the decision. A YouTube official said of the policy, quote, changes will affect a significant number of channels. 99% of those affected were making less than $100 per year in the last year, with 90% earning less than $2.50 in the last month. Creators called the day the policy went into effect the demonetization day. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Smaller accounts waited up to half a year to have their accounts reviewed to see if they could get ads. Multi-channel networks dropped huge amounts of small creators. Numerous creators quit. A lot of the smaller or demonetized content is or was created by marginalized folks or around less commercial topics. And many argue that YouTube is losing what made it YouTube.
Yeah, because it's different now, but when it started, it was like when I was reading the history of YouTube, they had the first time a trailer from a company appeared on YouTube. Like it didn't used to be what it is now. It used to be like a much more kind of hodgepodge, random assortment of videos from various creators. And now it's, it's got a lot of like movie trailers or clips from these big companies, music videos, things like that, which I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with. But if you're losing all of these small creators, then it's just like the scale is tipping in one way. And just for the record, SMNTY had hundreds of thousands of subscribers, tens of thousands, if not millions of views on every video, and we made less than $100 a year.
Right. I think we still have that. I think we still have like 250,000 around almost. Subscribers, which is hilarious because there's not been a video we posted since I think Bridget and Emily introduced themselves as the new host. I think that's the last video.
Yeah. It's been a whole process finding out who owns that channel now.
That's a whole different story.
It is. But I just wanted to put that in there because like we had the backing of a pretty big company. There's a whole team dedicated to this. Pretty much. And we got a lot of views and we didn't make that much money. So, but yeah, okay. So a lot of the things we've been talking about do impact women, but let's talk about women and YouTube specifically. There are conflicting numbers when it comes to gender differences in viewership on YouTube. One source reports 62% of users are male and 78% of men use it in the US, compared to 38% and 68% for women. Google's own numbers claim that it's more like 50-50. Or at least closer to that. Younger people are more likely to use YouTube, and location, urban versus rural, is a big factor as well. In 2018, YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki said one of the reasons for tech's lack of women is because of its reputation as being, quote, a geeky male industry, which did not go over well. No, it didn't.
Fighting words.
Yeah. One of the ways these moves around advertising has been theorized to impact women is around beauty. Both the pressure of the creator to put on makeup, wear nice, perhaps revealing clothes, which are things that are time-consuming and often expensive, but also to make videos about beauty, like makeup tutorials, because they know that those can be monetized. They might be pressured to use a sexualized thumbnail, like we were. There's nothing inherently wrong with these videos, these makeup tutorials. I know people who love them. But if women are being pressured into doing them for financial reasons and being pressured to look a certain way, that's an issue. We've discussed before how the beauty industry has pushed standards to sell products, telling women they have to look a certain way, and that is partially at play here. Because, makeup can be great. We just need to be clear. We need a clear picture of what's going on here, because a lot of women reported feeling like they had to do this because it was the only way they could get ads. Many women creators report criticism around their appearance, their weight, clothes, and makeup. Further, a lot of the top channels created by women have to do with stereotypical, more feminine topics like cooking. And there's a bunch of research about this. And again, it seems to be that they feel there's nothing wrong with it, but they feel like this is the only way they can make money, which I think there is something wrong with that.
Right. Although, I mean, we could come back and have the conversation about how also if you're a woman creator, you can only be for women.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that's, I mean, we run into that a lot. So that's a whole different conversation. And by the way, women are more likely to be subjected to trolling comments and harassment, even stalking and threats. And it increases with every intersection: race, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, and having pain dismissed, not looking sick enough, not looking pretty enough, weight. There was even a study specifically on YouTube comments that showed gender differences in how we talk about intoxication. Women are often sexualized in fail videos. Women creators have reported fear after accounts have posted hate videos about them and called for their followers to attack them. And this travels onto other platforms, by the way. I've seen this. It's really interesting. In 2019, YouTube rolled out updated harassment policies, but creators say they haven't mitigated the issue. A 2022 report found that harassment against women is not only alive and well on YouTube, it's flourishing. Women creators who have gone viral have described the deluge of harassments they encounter. Some even cited the Amber Heard-Johnny Depp trial as emboldening misogynistic creators and allowing them to amass huge numbers of followers, and that it helped normalize a toxic level of hate towards women. And I don't think we talk about this yet, but including Megan Thee Stallion, that also brought up a whole amount of misogynistic trolls. That got some notoriety. And similarly, YouTube started deranking Meghan Markle hate channels. People like men's rights activist Andrew Tate have amassed millions in revenue, though he was recently banned. But by the way, he's been making a lot of money on the backs of harassing women. Just that, and just recently got banned. Women creators feel that because YouTube is monetizing these accounts and not disciplining their top male creators who post misogynistic content, it empowers commenters to harass women. So many women have left because of this. The report concluded, misogyny is alive and well on YouTube. Videos pushing misinformation, hate, and outright conspiracies targeting women are often monetized.
Yeah. This is like within the year study. Of note, all the studies mentioned that there was a lack of data and research around non-binary folks. So that is something that's missing. And I want to include this. These are actual guidelines from Google's anti-harassment policy. Quote, here are some examples of content that's not allowed on YouTube. Reportedly showing pictures of someone and then making statements like, look at this creature's teeth. They're so disgusting, with similar commentary targeting intrinsic attributes throughout the video, targeting an individual based on their membership in a protected group, such as by saying, look at this filthy slur targeting a protected group. I wish they'd just get hit by a truck. Targeting an individual and making claims they are involved in human trafficking in the context of a harmful conspiracy theory where the conspiracy is linked to direct threats or violent acts. Using an extreme insult to dehumanize an individual based on their intrinsic attributes. For example, look at this dog of a woman. She's not even a human being. She must be some sort of mutant or animal. Depicting an identifiable individual being murdered, seriously injured, or engaged in a graphic sexual act without their consent. Accounts dedicated entirely to focusing on maliciously insulting an identifiable individual.
But it has to be the entire account.
Yeah. Well, and so I wanted to include this because it feels like you're trying to teach a child how to like behave.
Right.
Like that we have to say like, hey, don't
Here's
do
an example.
this. Here's an example. I was reading it like, whoa. Okay. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, has there ever been anybody who read these and was like, oh, I see. I'll stop doing that.
Right.
But anyway, okay. When it comes to money making, as of 2022, only one creator on the top 10 list of YouTube was not a man, and that was 7-year-old Nastya. In 2021, she made an estimated $28 million. And this is in keeping with the trends of recent years for YouTube. One woman on the list. But in 2018, no women at all made it.
Wait, she's a 7-year-old?
Yeah.
What is her content?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely not other 7-year-olds watching it. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Because there's also a 10-year-old boy on there, I think. I don't know.
That's concerning.
Yeah. You've also probably heard of the credibility gap when it comes to women and science or news content. Many women creators who are scientists have posted the mansplaining comments they get. I'm sure you've seen some of them or heard some of them, or sexualization or outright harassment that they receive. Viewership on STEM-related videos skews male, in some cases pretty drastically. This impacts interest in and potential pursuit of STEM topics and careers, because several studies have found that engaging in STEM content, especially at a young age, can ultimately lead to a STEM career. Studies have also found that compared to an equally scientifically curious man, women are 26% less likely to watch a science video on YouTube. Science creator Emily Grassley famously published a YouTube video in 2013 called Where Are My Ladies At?, where she just read some of the comments her videos receive. And if you've never watched her videos, they're pretty sweet. They're kind of like, she works in a museum and she talks about things in the museum. And it was just all of this like very sexualized, hateful comments she receives on these videos. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was thinking about one of the YouTube channels that my partner really wants, like gets me to watch, Simone Giertz. Someone's going to correct me and tell me I'm completely wrong because she's really, really famous. And her whole thing is trying to create unusual hacks in her house through whatever tools she's gotten. She's gotten huge. So she's gotten really cool tools. And I think one she did was a chair for her dog to sit next to her at the, like it's a desk chair. So something big. And then creating something with tampons. I forgot already. But like she has a lot, and she is technically a tech / STEM creator and has millions of viewers. So I would be interested to see what her comments look like with her popularity.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really disheartened me in this research was that back in the early days when Kristen and I were doing YouTube, we worked with a lot of big women on YouTube because that's like how you kind of cross-promoted and got more viewers. And a lot of the women we worked with who had like millions of views and followers left YouTube. Like they would show up in a lot of the articles I was reading were like, here's why I left. And they're big creators. Yeah. And so it just only imagining like the smaller creators. And also didn't you showed me that video, Girlfriend Reviews?
Yes.
And that they had to like respond to a lot of hate.
Yes.
Last of Us 2 hate, yeah.
Yeah, they had to respond to a lot of hate in general. But apparently they're doing huge stuff in Twitch. But the whole premise is pretty much the girlfriend is watching her boyfriend play these games and does a commentary. And they grew up to a huge success and is, I think, living off of the content as content creators because they have made sponsor deals. But yeah, they had to go through some things where several video games, including The Last of Us 2, because they loved it. Mm-hmm. Much like you.
Yeah.
We always have to bring it back to Last of Us or Star Wars. I'm sure that's somewhere in here.
Yeah.
So a part of the issue is a production budget staff. Statistically, male-run shows are able to secure more funds and staff. Another is that women who are scientists often have families and have more of the share in taking care of children, which means, yes, less time for actually making content and videos.
Yeah, which is something we heard during like the pandemic with why there were less scientific papers turned in by women. And also, have you ever heard the saying, never read the comments? I've said it to you.
Telling me that, yes.
I've said it to you a million
and
times.
And I made a mistake, and I did it again. Keep going.
Well, researcher Inoka Amara Sakara, and apologize if I butchered your name. I could not find the pronunciation anywhere. But they did read the comments. And they came out the other side with a published paper about sexism and YouTube. They looked at over 23,000 YouTube comments, specifically comparing the treatment of men and women when it came to science content. And no surprise, the women were treated more harshly, 14% negative comments versus 6% for men. I've said it a million times on the show, but we once did this experiment at work where we had a male host and a female host do the exact same video, and we compared the comments, and it was very clear. It was very stark which one they believed was smarter, and all of the physical comments that the woman got. And yeah, the women in the study got a lot more sexually charged comments or comments about their appearance in general. And the way YouTube comments work is the most controversial ones rise to the top. And in fact, I never personally would do this, but Kristen would sometimes be like, let's do something really controversial because it'll generate, it'll make you go to the top faster. It'll make you get more comments. And that's just how YouTube's algorithm works, which, as I believe, one big YouTuber was like, this does not facilitate healthy, helpful conversation.
Right. I feel like that's for everything, including news, like getting the worst, the most controversial stuff out there first, because that's going to get the attention, which sucks.
Yes.
So YouTube is trying to combat this to varying degrees of success. In 2018, they launched the first hashtag Women to Watch as part of the Next Up program. In the company's own words, this was the first time they had focused on empowering female voices. In 2016, they formed a year-long partnership between women creators and the UN to advocate to gender equality. And other organizations have been trying to fight this as well. In 2014, U Coalition, now Uplift Together, formed to combat sexual abuse, emotional manipulation, and other forms of violence in the YouTube community.
Yeah. I mean, with every tech topic we do, because of the show we focus on the negative. There are a lot of positives about YouTube. It can be a great place to find community. It can be a great place to share ideas, to educate, all kinds of things. But this is, there's so much fluctuation. I can't say for sure the situation is getting better. Like, people are talking about it, but, and it's also kind of, it annoys me in so many of these tech episodes where it's like the creators are the ones making YouTube money. And they're not getting paid anything and are forced to leave, or I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of things that need to be figured out with this situation.
I think in general, content creation and content creators is such a new thing. We've talked about it before. We've talked about influencers and the good and the bad. But it is. There's a lot of things that the law, policies, and just human rights things haven't caught up with as fast as this medium has become.
Right. It is complicated. Like, to YouTube's credit, I get that it's complicated because, you don't want an advertiser to be angry about what their ad is running on, but you also don't want a creator to not be able to make money and leave. But right now, it's not working. At least that's my view of it. So I would love if anybody listening has more recent experience with YouTube, has any thoughts or resources or numbers, anything like that, because this was one where I kind of got overwhelmed. There's a lot more we could talk about with this. And a lot is changing. Some of the surveys I mentioned, even though they were recent, I bet it's shifted. I bet the conversation has shifted since then. So if there's anything like that, you can email us at stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You. Thanks, as always, to our super producer, Christina.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.